Now, when we talk about the IRGC, I think it's very important to begin by defining the IRGC, understanding its nature, because ultimately that is key in order to prescribe it. So what is the IRGC? First of all, it's important to underscore the IRGC is not a conventional state military. It operates as an ideological organization. Now, it is constitutionally mandated in the Islamic Republic's constitution with an ideological mission of jihad to spread Sharia across the world. And that's in the constitution. It's still there. So its primary mission is not to protect Iran's territorial borders. Iran has a regular armed force, the Artesh, that does that. The IRGC's primary mission is to enforce the clergy's hardline Islamist ideology on the Iranian people and spread it beyond its borders violently through, as I said, a mission of jihad. So when we say it's an ideological organization, well, what is its ideology? The IRGC's ideology is a violent Islamist extremist ideology that is no different to the likes of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or Hezbollah, all three prescribed groups across Europe. Now, just like these extremist terrorist organizations, the Guard has a program of indoctrination, a formal program of radicalization. Radicalization now makes up for more than 50% of the IRGC's training. So overall, all the military training, etc., 50% of that now is indoctrination. So what are they teaching their recruits? They are teaching their recruits based off the internal training manuals of the IRGC that I've got hold of, that I've analyzed and published on. They are calling and they are teaching their recruits to wage jihad against Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians on the basis that they have, quote, unacceptable faith, and therefore they must either be executed or must convert to Islam. Not only that, when it comes to Iranians, the Iranian people, Iranians who are opposed to the Islamic Republic, who oppose Khamenei's regime, the IRGC is teaching its members and their families that these individuals are muharibs. They are waging war on God, and therefore they must be tortured prior to their execution. And they prescribe cross amputation, etc. And we're seeing, as we saw the brave Iranian people take to the streets, many were detained and executed under the charges of being a muharib. So in terms of ideology, the IRGC is almost identical to the likes of ISIS and Al-Qaeda and identical to that of Hezbollah. It's a Shia Islamist violent organization. It's also worth pointing out that the Quranic verse that is above the IRGC's logo, which is a call to arms, is the most cited Quranic verse used by ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So this is a violent Islamist extremist organization. So that's the ideology. But let's look at their modus operandi. Terrorism, hostage taking, hijackings. The IRGC still behaves like a militia. It started off as a militia, and now it's operating as an institutionalized militia. It doesn't behave as a conventional armed force. So we see that inside of Iran, and that's the nature of the IRGC. Now let's look at beyond Iran's borders as well, particularly in Europe. Now look at in the past year alone, last year, MI5, British Intelligence Service, announced that they had foiled 10 IRGC terror and assassination plots in the UK. We've also seen the IRGC's terror operations across Europe. Most recently, we've seen an incident in Greece. We've seen surveillance operations in Germany and in France, etc. But the one area that I really want to touch upon, and people go, well, isn't the IRGC sanctioned? Yes, the IRGC has sanctions on it, but it's not prescribed. Why is terrorist legislation so important? The reason it's important is because the IRGC, as part of its strategy at the moment, has doubled down on its efforts to nurture homegrown Islamist radicalization in Europe.